1985 Dragster. I didn't think I'd be interested to look at this thing, but the more you look, the more you realize this is just totally crazy. Built in the mid-60s, 327. Board to, what do we got? 364 cubic inch, 187 mile an hour, 8-second quarter mile. This is an original Dragster. Plymouth Valiant, Corvair Corsa, 140. Can't tell that. Pontiac, and an old drag strip. 62 Chevy Bel Air. Wonder if it had a 409, 55, 56 Chevy.
Oh,
The Vermonster.
The one hiding right
Yeah,
in the back.
I didn't hide quite enough. I should have taken one more step to the right.
The old cars in the background are great. 64 Corvette with wire wheels. There's the push car, 62 Bel Air, 65 Pontiac Grand Prix, 56 Chevy, 62 Impala, 56 Ford. Old cars in the picture are fantastic.
Nice article about it.
And it was a wreck.
Yeah, I'm probably right there.
Think?
No, I was in the pits because I have a couple friends that race.
59
Oh,
Buick.
yeah? Like who?
Uh,
I wonder if that knows.
Yeah, sitting in the backyard. Interesting.
Rod case.
Here's your front suspension.
289.
This is no springs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The Vermonster. There it is. Bucket seat. Sitting in the saddle.
Yeah. Crazy.
When men were men.
Yep.
Quality proven heat treated chrome moly products by Dragster Company. 2725 State Street, Carlsbad, California.
Where have
Whoops.
you been? I couldn't.
Billy! Let's go to a car. So let's squeak some doors. There's no door in this to squeak.
I couldn't find you all.
Well, we're back in Stowe 2013, and the Vermonster has been cranked up. I wish I would have been here.
We get the idea that it goes fast. Tell us about it.
Well, 50 years ago, my best buddy drove it. We owned it together. It ran on nitromethane. It was 364 cubic inches. It was a 327 with a stroker kit in it. So it was stock bore, 4-inch bore with a 3 5/8 stroke. I never had it on the dyno back then, but we estimated it somewhere around 1,000 horsepower. And we about every time down a quarter mile, we at least run 180 with it. Around, somewhere between 8 seconds and 8.3, something like that. The best we ever did was at Lebanon Valley. We ran 187 in 8 seconds down there. Lebanon Valley had a real nice racetrack and real smooth, and a long runoff area. So anyway, we did good down there.
Okay, so this is not a remote control car. Some guy sits in this thing, right?
Yeah, you set in it behind the rear axle. Your feet go up over the axle, so the ring and pinion, or the pumpkin, what most people refer to, is right between your legs. And there's a clutch in it, no transmission. There's a shaft that hooks the motor to the transmission. It's probably a couple feet long. It's spline for the clutch on the front end and spline for the pinion on the rear end. And then there's a coupling that couples it right to the pinion gear. And then there's a torque tube over it. to keep everything lined up.
So when you get ready to go, you rev it up and you let out the clutch, and what happens?
Well, you let out the clutch and you hang on. And you're in for a heck of a ride. And I drove it only 3 times, and I only went 157 with it. Thought I was going 900, and all I could think of on the way down, I couldn't believe I built such a monster. And then I got near the end, and I says, "Holy smokes! I got to stop this thing now." So, but we got it stopped. We have a parachute to stop it, obviously, and there is brakes on it, but the parachute, you use that to get you slowed down to somewhere around 40, 50 miles an hour, then you can put the brakes on. And it had disc brakes, and sometimes we had to beat the fire out at the end of the track, but Frankie just take off his gloves and beat the fire out because it was right alongside him there. That's about it. It's a quick ride, 8 seconds.
What do they say about men and their toys? Gee, this is a toy and a half. In this restored shape, what's a amazing artifact like this worth?
Oh gosh, that's hard to say. It depends on who wants it, I guess. It's hard to put a price tag on it. Right now, a friend of mine, Del Massey, he bought it with the understanding I'd help him restore it and build a motor for it. And so we got all that done. But there's probably somewhere around $10,000 in it right now. Originally, when we built it, we had $3,400 in it when we built it originally.
Which was how many years ago?
That was 48 years ago.
So it still could hold its own probably on some track somewhere, couldn't it?
It probably could, although now it runs on gasoline. It doesn't run on nitromethane. And,
Could you tell us?
the motor is not like it was 50 years ago. It's got a flat tappet cam in, so the motor's only good for around 6,000 RPM, and with these tires that'll only give us 135 miles an hour. So
What a shame.
in the pictures you've got a 62 Chevy Bel Air pushing it. Tell us about that 62 Chevy if you could.
Okay, that 62 Chevy is I bought that new. It was my car. It was a 300 horse 327 4-speed. I raced it for 2 years, 1963 and 4, and I won 37. I ran C stock. I won 37 trophies with it. I won 4 stock eliminator trophies with it. And back then, when you raced, there was no handicap. In other words, a C stock ran an A stock heads up. So, I mean, it was tough to get a stock eliminator trophy. It happened, you know, I was lucky. And anyway, then the chassis that this dragster is, my friend, I grew up in Albany, Schenectady area. And anyway, my friends in Albany, they ran it as a AA gas dragster for 1 year. And they wanted to get a new chassis, so I bought the chassis from them. And then I built, I couldn't afford a supercharger, so that's why we went to nitromethane. The AA gas dragsters and A fuel dragsters. A fuels were probably a little bit faster than the AA gas back in the day, and so that's what it is. But the Bel Air, we sold the dragster to Danny Schweiner out of St. Albans. His brother Joe bought the 62 car.
Kind of a close circle. For those of you interested, come on up and take a look at what the guy had to deal with here when he climbed into this thing. Not only did he have to worry about the fact there's no rescue, he had to worry that he wouldn't weigh over about 90 pounds and be any bigger than this, I would think. So we want to thank John Kiefer for bringing the car over here today. It's created a lot of activity in a tent over at the center of the field. Feel free to stop by and talk to John at any time. He promises he won't start it again without notice. So, thanks, John.
Thanks, Gil.
Quite a career here with the car.